Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, but Dennis plans on watching softball tonight. Appreciate you thinking of us.
Okay.
And Helen will, or Karen will manage the waiting room, and we'll get started. Welcome for all of us. There's 27 people in the room right now, and we'll probably pick up some more people as we move along. This is the annual membership meeting and the election of officers and directors for the next year. I will.
William?
Not now. Not now.
Running down.
Now, if you could mute your screens, or mute your volume, that we don't have to listen to anything other than the people that are talking. But if you want to ask a question, just unmute and lay on with the questions. We're calling to order the meeting at 7 o'clock. The agenda will be some remarks from me, some remarks from Steve, a quick program, which will be the premiere of our outreach video, and the election of officers and directors for terms commencing 1st of June 2021, and for the 2021-22 Audubon year. This was a most successful year for education for all about our birds. And the credit for that goes to Karen Stanmore, our education chair, and Marcy McGann, our outreach chair. This dynamo pair they embraced the electronic mediums, and they pioneered innovative means and methods to reach out and educate our members and our friends. And we'll talk a little bit more about that down the page. Equally effective, and hats off to the publication committee, Helen Caffrey, who is the publications chair, and an important Lieutenant Karen Asherfeld, who is probably one of the best technical editors that we have in the entire society. Lucy Duncan with a incredible amount of knowledge, and Jer French, who has a writing talent. They produced and edited the Skimmer, which improves every edition without fail. And last but not least, Deborah Jones, our webmaster for FMWAS and Audubon.org, our website, and Julie Shiro, our Facebook guru, who is the publicity chair. They got the word out.
Is that right? Marguerite something.
It is Marguerite, yeah.
What's Marguerite?
2020-21 was a most successful year for renewed avian conservation for all. Conservation Chair and Vice President Jim Brady led a reinvented conservation effort that restored avian conservation into our focus. It's all about birds, guys. And Jim brought back to FMWAS the Eagle Watch program and recruited and employed Audubon, Florida, and Conservation Leadership Initiative experts into leadership roles as assistant conservation chairs and student directors. Thanks to Becca Snyder and Amanda Hull for bringing a newer, younger perspective. This year was our best year ever for inviting youth and people of color to Francis M. Weston. And the credit goes to the board of directors, to a person, for embracing this essential goal and supporting our long overdue efforts to level the playing field. Whether planning or programming at Bruce Beach, our successes at inviting communities, the community of all ages, genders, color of skin, sexual identity, are a matter of record. Now, these alliances were fostered by us joining the tan yard community. And like the native trees and plants at Bruce Beach, these alliances must be cultivated and nourished so they can flourish. In that way, the unique can become commonplace. And Bruce Beach, the year it was the year of planting native trees and creating a center and be at Bruce Beach. We planted over 200 trees on, I say we scheduled the 21st and the 22nd. We got it done on the 21st. And we have the money to finish phase 2, phase 1A in November of this year. And the credit belongs to all the volunteers who joined us to plant, cultivate, weed and water over the 200 native plants, trees and plants. We had 99 volunteers at Bruce Beach on November 21st during COVID. We need to recognize our friends and colleagues in city government, from the mayor, Grover Robinson, right down to Larry, the water guy, Williams, the water truck driver who brought water on a regular basis for Bruce Beach. The good news is that in the city's phase 1, which is going to commence soon, this week, they're going to drill a well, so we will have water on the site. We need to recognize the generosity of Ascend Performance Materials and Ascend Cares Foundation, Gulf Power Foundation, Audubon, Florida, and Von Hedrick, who wrote the checks that allowed us to get it all done. And thanks to Steve and Cindy Koster sharing above and beyond the normal expected time so freely in achieving this goal. Thank you very much. And we want to recognize 2 stalwart volunteers who are stepping off the board, who served Francis M. Weston ably and effectively for a collective 22 or 23 years. You know, it depends on how you count. Larry Goodman was a program chair, which means he was the guru for every educational program at every meeting. And Jan Lloyd was membership chair for the past 11 years. And what an unsung hero both of these people are. But Jan, particularly working with national, you get a star in your crown in heaven. Thanks for all you've done. Now, it has been a singular honor to be your president over the last 2 years. We overcame the isolation of COVID with technology. This year, we hosted over 90 Zoom meetings, including board member meetings, board membership meetings, and the Francis M. Weston produced educational webinars and programs. We had a total of 211 hours on air, and we reached 933 registered members. Now that didn't count all the plus ones that were sitting there on the account. So it could be a bigger number. And reaching all those members and friends with programming during COVID, Francis M. Weston prospered. This year, despite COVID, we raised an unprecedented amount of money. We were able to provide income for our annual budget and realized retained earnings of nearly $15,000. My suggestion, not my obligation, is for the future is to invest such retained earnings in projects to sustain avian habitats in Escambia County and Santa Rosa County. Steve.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So you've mentioned the important numbers there, but just to go through the numbers on the screen very quickly, well, our net worth, these numbers are preliminary. We haven't reached the end of the month or the end of the financial year yet. That should be next week. So these are approximations. At the bank, we have just under $42,000 in the brokerage. Our 3 CDs continue to bring us interest. So far, about $3,300 in interest. The money market, which is completely flat really at the moment, is just sitting at $5,000. And we have $95 left at the post office, which we'll have to top up in next month to pay for the future mailings and things that we do through the post office. So our assets exceeded our assets as at 1st June by about $14,400, as Michael has mentioned. So very good year in that way. Next slide, please. Just to briefly go through the Bruce Beach situation, this is what it looks like. You will see that in 2019-20, we received the first grant from Gulf Power, which really kicked us off, plus a small amount from Ascend Performance Materials. That's bumped up significantly in 2021, where we've received a total of $11,000. We managed to get the last big chunk from Ascend actually today at lunchtime. So that has pushed us up to the $14,500 that you see there. The next slide shows the costs to date, total of just under $10,000 spent. The details are there. The big numbers obviously were the purchase of the plants, goods that we had to buy for fixing up the area, the fencing, the hoses, etc., and the cost of the video production, which we will be viewing shortly. So those are the expenses. So that leaves us with about $4,000, just a little over $4,000 to complete phase 1A of the project. I don't, you want me to go through all these, Michael? I don't
No,
think
they can, we give them.
it's not really necessary to go through this.
They'll be in the financial report.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. And that will be my final report as treasurer. So I'd like to thank everybody for their support and wish Jim Cox, who's coming along, all the best of luck. He'll have it a lot easier than I can because he knows what he's doing, unlike me. But it has been fun, and I've enjoyed it, and I've learned a whole lot. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Steve. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a little background on the video, and then I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to reshare the video, and then we're going to come back to the presentation. Bruce Beach was grant funded, but I want you to notice over here in the pink, that's Kathy Brower, and I want to thank Kathy Brower for allowing us to use a room in our house for storing T-shirts and stuff, Audubon store stuff, and for being there with me at every event, and it really is. She's a great birding partner. So the video actually was an April production. We started talking about it in late March, and we had identified the production group, and we'd signed the contract. But Steve and I worked on the storyboard. And the next thing we know, we were filming at Bruce Beach, the B-roll. We filmed interviews at Corain Jones Community Center at Sanders Beach the next day. We had several production conferences with Beverly Boys Productions. I want Jan to notice how we, Pam to notice how we spelled Beverly Boy. On the 10th of May, we approved the final long version. And on the 11th of May, we approved the video teaser, which is for Facebook to allow it to link over to our YouTube page, which Julie Shiro is in the process of setting up. We had a dress rehearsal, and the people who prepared for the annual meeting got a glimpse. And today we're going to run the video. So I'm going to. The future is important.
From the African-American perspective. So remember, we're starting at a time where here in the American South, public spaces were segregated. Oftentimes we think about water fountains, schools, libraries, but we don't really think about how segregation affected these recreational spaces So here we had segregated beaches as well. And Bruce Beach was one of them.
We had heard about Bruce Beach, and there was this little oasis in the middle of downtown Pensacola, and so we just went down to see what was there, really. And it was very nice, wonderful to see a place like downtown Pensacola with the beach and the trees, and so he was excited to be here for the first time.
So when the Gulf Power Foundation decided to provide a grant to the Francis M. Weston Audubon Society for their, Plants for Birds project, I needed to drive out there and see what it was about. I wanted to see firsthand.
We were able to muster 99 Francis M. Weston volunteers, not all members of Francis M. Weston, people from all walks of life, all races, all genders, all orientations. We didn't care as long as they were willing to dig holes in the ground and plant these native trees and plants. And they were motivated. 99 volunteers during COVID, all masked, all socially distanced, was an important event.
Well, we wanted to create an area that can show people in the community what coastal lowland vegetation type would look like. Well, I think Bruce Beach is marvelous from this standpoint that there are many different ecotypes there. You have the marsh, you have the beach, the sandy beach, you have the ocean, the water, you've got the woods. Ultimately, you're going to have the woods. You've got that little Washerwoman Creek that goes down there with that marshland associated there. So we're going to get a large range of birds. I think, for example, we were down there yesterday, and in a matter of 3 hours, we got over 30 species. And then we expect that the migratory birds will enjoy to have a stopover on the way as they go north and south from here.
I think it's a very symbiotic working relationship that makes the community better. I certainly appreciate what Audubon does and certainly trying to create better habitat across our city and across our area. Our goal is to have it natural, and we want it to be natural. So I hadn't thought of all the things that the Audubon Society did, but once they explained it to me, it seemed like something that we ought to be doing as a city. And I told them they had my absolute commitment.
I think by teaching about the native habitat, about what that habitat's going to be used for, education, about the Bruce Beach history.
My parents are from there. My dad's side of the family, my grandfather's from Pensacola, so they're very familiar with Bruce Beach. As a family, it's our first time in November, but I remember my family brought me down here as a kid because they used to live down here in this area.
Bruce Beach is a sustainability project. Is important to us. It's a key part of our sustainability. Native trees and plants in general produce oxygen that feed back into the environment. They help filter the water system in our environment and hold the soil in place as well. So all of those things come together to support our environment. Ascend Performance Materials has been a long partner with the Francis M. Weston Audubon Society. We've had their presence at our sanctuary, doing bird counts and various other projects.
Working with the Audubon Society, we knew immediately that our funds were going to have a tremendous impact on native and migratory bird species.
And so just seeing the history, just seeing how far we've come, and just to see like where it could go to help out the community, with FMWAS, and hey, this is something we gotta support, be willing to do to expose our own kids, not just our kids, but ourselves too as well.
I thought it was good, and I think it's gonna turn out very good with all of the trees and plants you planted. It's gonna be a way for people to enjoy a bunch of nature and see different things. We saw a lot of birds, and I think it's a good idea to plant the trees.
Yeah.
And also just taking the time out to enjoy nature, taking that time out to understand, about environmental issues, as well. So we're really thankful to the Francis M. Weston Society to open up those doors for our students. They have a lot of volunteer opportunities, but nothing like this.
Thank you to the Audubon Society and their volunteers. I think it was a great opportunity for us to show we can have wilderness in an urban setting, and we can do it the right way that produces for the right habitat.
I'm really supportive of the work of the Francis M. Weston Audubon Society, and I encourage them to do that all they can to teach the public. So I would like to make sure that people's relationship with outside can be wider, have more understanding of the space that they're in, have the opportunity to just enjoy the beauty of things, and also just see God's wonders.
No.
So now we move to the official business side of the equation. This is the official nominating committee announcement, which has been published in per the bylaws for the last 90 days and shared with the membership, both in the skimmer on the webpage. Mr. Vice President, do we have a quorum?
Mr. President, we do have a quorum.
I'd like to call on the nominating committee chair, Helen Caffrey, and representing her colleagues, Marcy McGann and Powers McLeod, who are members. Helen?
Yes, thank you, Michael. The committee would like to report the nominating slate, as you saw on the previous slide, for President Jim Brady, for Vice President Steve Koster, for Treasurer Jim Cox, for Recording Secretary Pamela Brown, she is the incumbent, Corresponding Secretary Ann Forrester, she too is the incumbent. Director at Large from 2019 to 2022 is Marcy McGann, a member of our committee, but she has been elected and she is the incumbent in that slot. We have a directorship at large at the time of the printing of this slate. We'll speak to that in a moment. And there is another director at large for the term 2021 to 2024, and that is Perry Donerville.
Okay, thank you, Helen. Stand by. I now will call from nominations from the floor, and reminding that every nomination from the floor must be seconded.
Michael,
do I hear any nominations from the floor?
Michael, may I make a nomination, please?
You may.
I would like to nominate Julie Sherrill for the vacancy of the directors at large for the year 2021 to 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Carol Asherfield.
Okay. There's been a nomination and a second to add Julie Sherrill to the slate. Are there any further nominations from the floor? I will seek unanimous consent to close nominations from the floor. If you have an objection, raise your hand or shout out. Hearing none, the nominations from the floor are closed.
I would like to move that we approve and elect the slate as amended. I make that motion.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve and elect the slate of officers and directors as amended to serve for the Audubon year 2021, 2022, and commencing June 1st. Any discussions, questions, comments, good ideas? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried unanimously. This is, the slate is elected. Now, any further business, questions or comments? Well, then I'd like to say good luck for 2021, 2022 to Francis Audubon Society's members, officers, directors, and standing committee chairs. Thank you for all you do for Francis M. Weston. There's a motion. I'd accept a motion to adjourn, which needs no seconding.
Michael, I saw Jim Brady had his hand raised.
Oh, Jim, I didn't see you.
Actually, I think Marcy had her hand raised too, but
I can't see everybody, so I guess I didn't know who raised their hands.
Michael, I would just like to personally thank you for the incredible amount of work and dedication you put into the presidency of Francis M. Weston Audubon Society for the last 2 years. We have made great gains, and they are the result of a board that got behind you and worked very hard with your leadership leading the way. And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
I second that. Carol Asherfield.
Well done.
Well, thank you, Carol. Marcy, did you have your hand raised?
I seconded as well.
Okay.
I think there's a round of applause.
Yes, we'd all like to clap at once. 1, 2, 3.
Well, I'll still accept a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
The motion
Second.
is,
Second.
we are adjourned, which means I can turn the recording off.
Yeah. Oh, it's all over.
So the video we're gonna put up on the website, and it's going to be put up on the Ascend website, on the Gulf Power website, and the city website, and any other Audubon, Florida website. You know, any place we can get it up. So
Steve, are you going to send it to me?
who?
Yes, I've got it. I will send it to you, Julia, tomorrow.
Awesome, thank you.
Congratulations, President Jim and Vice President Steve and Treasurer Jim, you know, and Pam. You guys are lucky to have Pam because she keeps it all honest.
Make sure you spell Beverly Boy correctly.
Whoa.
Learn
Yeah.
his lesson.
Okay.
So this has
Like
been
him.
a very This has been a cheerful meeting and this has been a good business meeting. I hope that soon we'll all be able to see each other face to face.
Amen.
Yeah, we look forward to
Hallelujah.
that. Yeah, we do.
Great. Nice
Hey,
to see
Cecil,
everyone.
how you doing?
Yeah.
He's mute. You're muted, Cecil. He's hanging in there, he said.
I'm doing okay for a
See, Mario's there.
Now go out and find good birds.
asking.
Yeah. All I can find is a Mississippi kite and an owl.
I saw your pictures are pretty good. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Very cute.
The most exciting bird around right now is a redneck phalarope at Dolphin Island, which has hung around for 2 days. That's a really rare one. And it's easily found if anybody's interested.
What is it? What did you say?
A redneck phalarope.
Rope on Dolphin Island.
Oh, okay.
is he out at the airport?
No, it's on Pelican Island, also known as Sand Island.
Okay.
And it's been around for a couple of days. A bunch of pictures on the Alabama website, the Alabama Birds listserv. And it's beautiful in breeding plumage.
He probably doesn't have anybody to breed with, though.
That's true. But the great news
Poor
of the
thing.
day,
Oh,
the great news of the day is that there are news elements flying around that the Bay Bridge will be open tomorrow.
No, never.
Yeah, but only 2 lanes.
Well, two
Hey,
lanes,
twice as many
two
as
lanes
for a long
at
time.
one point and 4 lanes at another. There will be. I think that we're going to wait a couple of weeks till everybody learns how to enter and exit it now, and then we'll go across.
Hey, I just now saw Joe there. Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing all right.
Well, that's good to see you. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be seen.
When you were talking about Dolphin Island, I was wondering, is there good birding at Fort Morgan? Because that would be a more reasonable drive for me.
That's certainly true. We have to realize that migration has pretty much drawn to a close. There are a few late things that will always dribble through, you know, for example, like cuckoos and so forth. But by the end of July, we should be getting yellow warblers coming back through going south. So we can look forward to that. But part of the best thing about this time of year for birding is that you can bird your own patch. Like Michael and Kathy bird Soundside Preserve, Bob and I bird our neighborhood. Other people bird their neck of the woods. They have a special place that they go to repeatedly, whether it's Fort Pickens or a park near you, and you become intimately familiar with those birds that are there, so that you know them when you just see a little flick of a wing or you hear the sound. And the depth of knowledge in your own patch, if you want to call it that, is really very rewarding. And I think that there are people here, you know, who would certainly agree with that. Perry, I'm sure you would. You've become very, very deeply familiar with Fort Pickens. And Michael, you at Soundside. And it's just kind of nice to have a special place that you go to. You know which tree to expect a certain bird in. And by golly, you're always surprised when it's there. Well, you might expect it, but it's great that it's there, you know. So enjoy this time for birding locally. Don't expect migrants, but get to know the behavior and the calls of your resident birds.
Any good birds we're going to get this next 2 months, June and July, will be associated probably with tropical storms. And if you can get out to the beach in a minor tropical storm, you might see some pelagics.
But other than that, it's gonna be very dull for a while. Until the first yellow warblers come in July.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you never know. And it's a, hey, Cindy.
We have Carolina wrens nesting on our patio in a hanging basket, and they buzz us all the time. We
Yay.
sit down for our sundowners and they chirp, 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 chirp till we leave.
It's amazing to hear so many of new calls out of the Carolina wrens. Calls we've never heard before, talking to their children. They beep, 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 and croak and grunt, and every now and again a chewy, chewy. But boy, they have a range of song. It's amazing.
We had a funny thing happen today. I took down our platform feeder. It was unsatisfactory and getting old. And Jim Cox, I think Jim may have left the forum right now, but Jim built me a new one. And I had to do some measurements and stuff and get the pipe and all prepped. So I took the old one down, and I haven't put the new one up yet. Well, the first thing that happened is a cardinal came in and sat on the post where the platform feeder had been, looking around. It left, it came back and looked around like, where the hell did it go?
Yeah, he's talking to you. Yeah.
And then the cardinal left, and a titmouse came, and it did the same thing, looking around. Where is it? He's sitting on the post. I know there was a feeder here. The next thing we knew, we had a brown thrasher come in, and they all came in and sat on the same post looking for the feeder that was not there. It's not going to be there till tomorrow afternoon either.
Oh, dear.
We often have that happen here because we have been taking our platform feeder down at night due to the fact that we have bears in our area. So first thing in the morning at 6, John is out there putting it up, but there's always 1 or 2 birds waiting, either on the post or right on the ground, waiting for him to put it. And if he takes it off too early because we're going out, they will end up sitting on the post, and there'll be 2, 3, or 4. They've become very much creatures of habit.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, ours do the same. They sit there all around waiting for the new lot of feed to arrive. And boy, as it hits the ground they're in, they don't waste any time.
That's true. That's so true.
Well, Joelle, you've been photographing birds in your backyard a good bit. What have you gotten photos of lately? You're muted. Oh, there you are.
There I am. Well, finally, the secretive eastern towhee was full on in the middle of my yard. So I got some pictures through the sliding glass door window. But at least I got to finally see it instead of just hearing it.
Good.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Mostly just excited for the return of many bugs like butterflies and dragonflies and everything else. So that's mostly what I've been taking pictures of lately.
We bought a white milkweed and a rose milkweed, a swamp milkweed from Seven Pines, and put it out in a pot in our backyard next to the tropical milkweeds. And, you know,
it was decimated.
I gotta believe that native plants are preferred over tropical milkweed, which we had grown from seed, because we had the biggest, fattest monarch caterpillars that stripped these plants.
Yep. Although I've heard the tuberosa milkweed, the orange flower native milkweed, supposedly is like equivalent Brussels sprouts to them. So maybe stick with the white and the swamp.
Well, I got 100 seeds of Incarnata rose milkweed because Yeah, we're gonna
We
start.
decided we need to expand our milkweed population here.
Only suggestion, maybe put little clumps of it, the plants around your yard, so maybe the wasps don't find them all.
Yeah, we generally start with in pots until the tubers get big, so we can move them around. We have a lot of other.
But this is the first year we've had the monarch caterpillars so early. And maybe it's because we didn't have the plants in the ground early enough, but usually we only saw them in the fall, but this is the first time we're starting out with spring defoliating our plants.
Yeah, they migrate twice through. In February, starting in February even, they'll start coming back through. And that's a good time for them to lay eggs on milkweed as they continue north. It's said it's not great for them to hang around in the fall when they come back through, because they really should be moving on south. I used to tag them and release them, trying to help maybe find out where they migrate in Florida. And one morning I released, and as soon as it took off and started flying, a crow swooped in and ate it. I guess it was waiting for breakfast. Like it knew I was going to come out before work.
You know, we lived in upstate New York for quite a while, and up there, there was a big school event where in September, October, and our milkweed up there looks so different from the milkweed down here, but the schools would bring in monarch caterpillars and milkweed and basically keep them in a
terrarium.
Terrarium. And the caterpillars would make their chrysalis up on the top of the cage, and then they would hatch and they would let them go, which were, I think, the Mexican migrants, which would go from way north to Mexico for that long trip they make at that time of year.
Yeah.
We found here in down on the immediate coast that the shrub called baccharis, also known as saltbush.
Yep.
It attracts the monarchs. In October, we have got a huge number of monarchs that come through, and the monarchs will, as they come through, they will absolutely coat these shrubs, the baccharis shrubs, so that the shrub doesn't look green at all. It looks brown and orange from the monarchs. And then the monarchs will also perch in tiers hanging down on the close by trees, the oak trees. So unfortunately, though, at least around where I live, most of the people don't appreciate baccharis and prefer to bring in
crab myrtle.
Yeah. And other things like that, and trim it all square at the top and square on the bottom. Anyway, which doesn't do much for the birds. But
we lost a whole lot of saltbush in Sally because
yes, an awful lot of it along the Naval Live Oaks beachfront. We've been watching some of them come back, but I would say there's only about 4 or 5 bush areas that are coming back at all, because the surge was so great and so heavy that it literally uprooted an awful lot of them. But you're absolutely right. But one of the things I wanted to ask Joelle real quickly is that we actually had the caterpillars denude our milkweed in March. The milkweed has come back healthy, both our tropical and the two that we too bought that are native plants. But they are just now flowering, and we have seen the monarchs in the area, but no caterpillars yet. So we may have missed the second swerve from what you're saying.
They were all at our house. They were all at our house eating our bushes.
Send a couple my way, though. The flowers are pretty, but I would like to see the caterpillar.
Well, yeah, we saw the flowers for only a couple days before they were all like devoured at our house.
I'm sure they'll find it. They'll come back. Last year I had pretty much monarchs year round.
Oh, so there's hope for me.
There is. And
Do you
yesterday
find that they go for oleanders?
no.
Because they went for years and years ago. They stripped some oleanders that we had.
There might have been
planted.
some type of moth or maybe something else.
Maybe it wasn't the monarch caterpillar.
Monarchs only eat really milkweed.
Milkweed, yeah.
And
There's an
then
oleander moth that does do that. It's a beautiful moth.
yes.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Red and navy blue. And they do attack the oleanders voraciously. I need to sign off. Goodbye,
I
y'all.
do too.
Good night,
See you.
everyone.
Goodbye, everybody.
Nice to see you. Hope to
Thank
see
you,
in
Michael,
person
for
soon.
everything you've done this
Good
year.
night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye. Good night.
Michael,
Marcy.
I'll tell you, I was about to get in on native plant talk and now it's over.
Oh,
Anyhow, I'm excited because I went to the Extension Center,
yes,
their plant sale,
yes.
and I got some native plants.
Good for you.
It was lovely without having to go all the way to Defuniak Springs for the Seven Pines Native Nursery. So just wanted to share.
What did you get?
I got a swamp milkweed, which is what they call it, the white flower.
Yep.
And
You there, Marcy? You locked up.
I don't hear.
What do you have?
Tomato.
Well,